Hi everyone, this is just a really brief discussion to give you some feedback on assignment 2B and to give you some feed forward on assignment 3 before you have to submit assignment 3, so I can provide you with a bit of assistance in your preparation of your assignment. Just to remind everybody, I've extended the submission date for assignment 3 until Monday the 30th of May, so that's you've now got the weekend and all of Monday to submit that assignment in case you want to make any changes. Now, if you'd like me to revert an assignment that you've already submitted to draft, just drop me an email and let me know, and I'll do that, and then you can pull down your assignment, make some changes to it, and submit it again before the deadline at 11:55 p.m. on Monday the 30th. So, I really apologise for not getting the feedback to you on assignment 2B before now. I'm still actually waiting on a couple of my markers to get them back. They've had some technical issues and some family illnesses, and so it's been a bit delayed. But I have got a good proportion of them back, and so I've been able to have a bit of a look at some common mistakes that have been made, and I thought I'd pass them on to you now. Now, most people in the class have demonstrated an understanding of the key discipline areas. Now, that's the issues that have been covered in the course material. So that's really good, because that's one of the areas that forms a high percentage of the weighting for that assignment. Other areas include your critical consideration of the material and your analytical ability of the material and how you place it in context. Now, some common mistakes have included that people are focused on households rather than the broader community infrastructure issues. Things like the destruction and overload of critical infrastructure like water treatment plants, sewage treatment plants, uncontrolled runoff from industrial and agricultural areas. Now, that can lead to the contamination of watercourses and also potentially rural water supplies downstream. So that would have been an important issue to identify. Students talk generally about floods rather than specific examples within Queensland. So it's really important that you put an assignment into context. Some students, or quite a lot of students, didn't support their supposition with evidence from the literature. Now, this can be a little bit tricky, but it's a really important skill to get hold of. So you need to learn that. When you've got an idea, look for it in the literature and see if you can find where it's occurred elsewhere, and that would then be used to support what you're supposing might have happened in Queensland. There were the usual issues with referencing, particularly the quality of your sources and the style of referencing that you've used, and there were grammar, spelling, writing style issues. Now, while we're on that subject, I would like to say to you that even though I really did provide you with a lot of feedback on your first assignment focusing on that, there are a lot of students that have received fails on those criterions. I want you to realise that these assignments are worth 20% each, and each one of those, like spelling, referencing, etc., is only worth 5% of that 20%. So the difference between a pass and a fail on that criterion is only 1 mark across the entire term. So if you received a fail on those, don't get despondent, because it really hasn't had a major impact on your final grade. Those of you who have received pass concededs and even fails for those assignments, I don't want you to get too despondent, because again, these assignments are only worth 20%, so it's actually quite easy for you to make up the marks that you've missed in the bigger assignment at the end of term. So please don't give up. The other thing I would like to tell you is that if I do find students who haven't quite made the grade, I don't fail first year students first off. Any student that doesn't quite make the grade will be offered a supplementary assessment, so you'll get to resubmit something, and if you achieve a satisfactory report on that, then you can get a supplementary pass. So don't feel that because you've failed something that you're going to fail the course overall, because I don't let that happen with first years, so I really don't want you to get too despondent. You always get a chance to resubmit and have another go. Right, so I'll do some feed forward now, and I think this is really important, and I'm sorry I haven't done it before now. So I can give you a little bit of a discussion. Now, this final assignment, obviously other students have done it in the past. Last year, the students actually used this case study for one of the smaller assignments. This basic assignment is provided every year, but they don't always use the same case study. So what I'd like to talk to you about is a little bit of a rundown on the mistakes that students have made in the final assignment in other years, and so the idea is that you can avoid these if possible. So Probably the first one is that they misidentify the root cause of the environmental health problem. Now, the reasons for this are quite many and quite complex, actually. Many students actually fall into this trap because they do too much research and they don't target their research. So they type in, for example, on this assignment, they might type in maize, Kenya, child, health or ill health or sickness or failure to thrive. That's going to turn up a huge range of issues, and a lot of students just grab on the one that go, oh, that's probably going to happen, that's probably what it is. Now, the chances of that being the case are very unlikely. You need to really thoroughly read your case study and identify the signposts in the case study, perhaps even working backwards, and apply your course material to that so that you use your own knowledge of the material that we've provided you to come up with a couple of possibilities. I'm not going to be asking you to solve a problem that you've not come up against before. It's not going to be something new, it's not going to be something exotic, it's going to be an issue that is covered in your course material. Do that first. Once you've come up with a few issues, do a bit of targeted research using your ideas. So say, okay, is this problem going to occur in this situation, under these conditions, in this location? Your research for this needs to be very finely targeted. Don't use the scattergun approach. Use a laser gun approach. So many students don't clearly read the case study. They look at just the main words and then they go for it. They don't look at the cause and effect, the signposts, and they didn't use their course material to identify the most likely cause. So there's some reasons why students misidentify the root cause. Other issues are that students don't discuss or didn't discuss the relationship between the underlying factors and the case study. So they simply talk about, okay, this is the case study, this is what went wrong, and this is how you'd fix it. You need to actually, the purpose of this assignment is to do more than that. It's actually to look at the underlying factors such as social factors, physical factors, political factors, cultural factors. Not necessarily all of those will be relevant, but you need to look at things under those headings and try and find things that might be relevant. Many students just regurgitate all the course material about social determinants and they don't use specific examples drawn from the literature. So what you need to do is look at those social determinants and go, okay, which do I think might apply in this case? And given that this is in Kenya, I'd be saying, okay, well, let's look at some of the social issues that occur in Kenya. And you need to give specific examples. Other times, students haven't identified the full range of underlying factors. They've only concentrated on one or two. Again, that's not going to fail you if you don't do that. If you focus on one or two, that's fine. You're probably still going to pass. But if you want to do well, you'll look at a range of different underlying factors. Other times, the recommendations that students have made haven't been based on the underlying factors or determinants of health that they've identified previously, or perhaps they actually haven't identified any and they've given recommendations without any discussion of the fact that these things exist in the first place. Students haven't used scholarly evidence to support their statements, so remember that if you come up with an idea, that's great. That's what you should be doing, is you should be postulating ideas, thinking about things that may be an issue, but you can't actually say that until you go to the evidence and say, okay, well, is this likely to occur? Now, you might not find that it's evidence that it specifically occurred in Kenya, but you may find evidence that it's occurred in other parts of the world, and you can then say, well, given that they have a similar political structure or that they have a similar economic structure or something, and you need to reference that as well, it is most likely the fact in Kenya as well. And then other places where students lose marks are on the same issues that we've discussed before. They don't structure their arguments or their statements very well, so their writing doesn't flow. They have grammatical and spelling errors, and their referencing is incorrect, or they don't use scholarly sources. But again, it's unlikely that you'll ever fail anything badly based on those things, because they're just not worth enough of your assignment. It's important to get it right. Don't ever think that it's not important. But the way the assignment is weighted is the majority of weighting is on those areas about understanding the key discipline areas. It's about being able to analyse the case. It's about supporting your statements with good evidence. and it's about putting it into context and identifying the links between environmental factors and health. So I really hope that's been helpful. I guess my final point is the use of evidence is really important. I think most of us would really rather, for instance, if we're going to the dentist, this is an example that was provided to me today. If we're going to the dentist, we'd really rather the dentist who is poking around in our mouths has solid clinical and scientific evidence that he is basing his decisions about what to dig in and how to do root canal work and the rest of it, rather than just on his ideas or the ideas that popped up in Wikipedia or that popped up in some popular journal. So that's the reason why it's important for you to use scholarly evidence to support your statements. It means that when you get out of this degree, you can say, well, I make my decisions based on the science, or I make my decisions based on the research. I don't just hear someone else's idea and go, hey, yeah, that must be right. So that's why we focus so strongly on the use of evidence to support the statements. Well, I really hope this has helped. Look, if you're having any major difficulty, by all means, post a question to Moodle. I'm going to be monitoring that quite strongly over the next week. You can also telephone me if you need to get in touch. You can email me, but normally if you email me regarding something that's course related, I'd much rather you put it on Moodle, because it means then that the answer is of the benefit to the entire class rather than just to you. But all the best. And I hope that I'll be seeing you again in courses in the future. Bye, everyone.